Number 9, who will go to Norman to take on Oklahoma? And it's Alabama who didn't move. Maybe the game that had Alabama sitting on the bubble, they'll get a chance to avenge that game.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this, you kind of saw it going in this direction already with Ohio State being 2. A team that also lost their conference championship game. They weren't overly penalized. They dropped just 1 spot and flipped the team right behind them to acknowledge the head-to-head. I think they clearly drew conclusions about Alabama based on a 12-game sample size. And that's the way it should be evaluated when you take into account the teams they were being evaluated against had just 12 data points to evaluate. So Alabama needing to get back on track offensively, need desperately to get healthy, but they have an opportunity, like you said, Rece, to avenge that regular season loss.
But, I will say this. I understand the concept of not being overly punitive for a conference championship game. But if you're going to play them, they need to have stakes both ways to win the conference championship and what happens if you lose.
They have to count somehow. And we're talking about Alabama maybe having the best win in the sport by going to Athens. They also have one of the worst losses by losing to Florida State.
No question.
So we just cannot erase that. I'm surprised at this move right here.
Truth bomb. Alabama has been selected to make the college football playoff this season. Clearly, the committee felt like Alabama's resume was more than strong enough to let them be included in. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Alabama being selected over Notre Dame for a college football playoff appearance. With Alabama going to the college football playoff, they will be matched up against Oklahoma. Remember, Alabama will be coming into the college football playoff as the number 9 seed. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. Did Alabama deserve to make the college football playoff this season? No, they didn't. I believe Alabama should not have been ranked number 9 in the college football playoff rankings. I understand why the committee put Alabama in the college football playoff. I understand Alabama's resume was stronger than Notre Dame in comparison. However, if we were to talk about resume, then I think you have to include Texas in the conversation. What you do in one comparison, you have to do to another. You have to be consistent when talking about the best teams in college football. And I don't think the committee was very consistent in what they were looking for the entire time. Alabama is now the first 3-loss team to have been included in the college football playoff that did not go on to win their conference championship. Yes, I know Clemson had 3 losses last season, but they were a conference champion. Alabama, on the other hand, was not a conference champion. Yes, I know their 3rd loss came in the SEC championship game, and I understand that teams cannot be penalized for losing in a conference championship game. I understand the logic behind it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it. The reason why I don't necessarily agree with that concept is because if that's the case, then you can't penalize BYU for losing in the Big 12 championship game. I don't even think Alabama fans believe their own team deserved a spot in the college football playoff. Alabama lost to Florida State by the score of 31-17 in week 1. That was one of the worst losses in college football. Yes, I know that Alabama also owns the best win in college football because they were able to beat Georgia at Georgia. So obviously Alabama, they deserve a lot of credit for that. But how about that loss to OU? Alabama also didn't really play their best ball late in the season. I thought Notre Dame played their best ball late in the year. Personally, I would have gone Notre Dame over Alabama for the college football playoff. But again, I'm not really feeling sympathetic towards Notre Dame because they did this to themselves. If they joined the real conference, then they would have made the college football playoff. I also want to show you guys this clip of Hunter Yuracheck making a justification for why Alabama was allowed to be in the college football playoff. Honestly, what Hunter Yuracheck has been saying this entire time has been very stupid. He sounds like your typical corrupt politician. Roll the film.
What was the selection committee's perspective on conference championship game performance and what could happen to you punitively if you did have a day like Alabama had yesterday?
Yeah, we evaluated all of those conference championship games and felt like in the end, regardless of Alabama's performance yesterday, their body of work in those first 12 games where they had probably the best win, arguably this season, winning at number 3 Georgia, having a win against Vanderbilt, wins against Tennessee as well. Their strength of schedule was the highest in the top 11, and we felt like in spite of their performance yesterday in the conference championship, they deserve to stay in that 9 spot.
You're an idiot and a scammer.
If guys like Hunter Yuracheck are in charge of the College Football Playoff Committee, no wonder why no one respects the College Football Playoff Committee. I understand about automatic bids. I understand about Tulane and JMU getting in, and I'm very happy for those 2 programs getting in, but I also have to understand that there were more deserving football programs that should have been let in. To me, that is the real issue for what is going on in college football. College football is an absolute mess right now. It's an anarchy. There's no rules in place, no college football commissioner in place, and when you have those type of situations happening, well then yeah, you're going to absolutely get messes like what you saw in the College Football Playoff rankings. As far as the Miami versus Alabama comparison, I disagree with how that kind of went down. I understand why Alabama was ranked ahead of Miami. I don't personally agree with it. I think Miami should have been the 9 seed. I thought Miami was playing the best ball late in the season in comparison to Alabama. I did not think Alabama's body of work was very impressive late in the season. What they did at the beginning of the season was impressive, with the exception of the Florida State game. But outside of that, their body of work at the beginning of the year was impressive. So again, I do understand that, and I do understand why Alabama was allowed into the College Football Playoff. However, if you penalize BYU for losing in the Big 12 championship game, well then you're going to have to penalize Alabama for losing in the SEC championship game. And don't tell me that playing the SEC championship game should not penalize teams, because that rule didn't apply to Georgia 2 years ago. When Georgia played in the SEC championship game and lost by 3 points, the committee kicked Georgia out of the College Football Playoff. They didn't even have a right to justify their loss. They dropped from 1 to 6 after the SEC championship game. So don't tell me the College Football Playoff isn't capable of having an SEC team be removed because they got blown out in the SEC championship game. To me, that absolutely isn't right. I need to see more consistency from the committee. I feel like Alabama should have been dropped out of the College Football Playoff entirely. I believe that Miami should have been ranked 9th, while Notre Dame should have been ranked 10th. Notre Dame should have been in. The fact that Alabama was ranked ahead of Notre Dame was a travesty in and of itself, and I know I was called a Notre Dame hater last week. Well, now I'm prepared to be called a Notre Dame fanboy, because now I'm saying that Notre Dame should have been ranked ahead of Alabama. And you know what? I stand by that. I stand by that take. I believe Notre Dame should have been ranked ahead of Alabama in the first place. Just because you won a 3-point game in a rivalry game against 5-7 Auburn, I'm supposed to be impressed by that? No, of course not. I don't think Alabama is going to go very far in the College Football Playoff. I think Notre Dame, had they gotten in, they might have had a chance to make noise in the College Football Playoff. But again, it is what it is. If Notre Dame didn't want this issue, then maybe schedule stronger opponents. Maybe go ahead and join a real conference, because that to me is the bigger issue. As far as Alabama deserving to get in, no, I don't think they deserve to get in. I think that the way how Alabama looked in their losses was just quite frankly too bad. The way how they lost to Florida State in week 1 was a bad loss. The way how they lost to Oklahoma wasn't really that acceptable either. And then for them to get blown out in the SEC championship game, yeah, that should have been enough for Alabama to be forced out of the College Football Playoff. But again, Notre Dame kind of did this to themselves by not joining a real conference. If they had done that, then this would not have even been a discussion. Notre Dame has no one to blame but their own athletic administration. It is what it is, though. I don't believe Alabama should have been let in, but I understand why they were. So that is why Alabama did not deserve to make the College Football Playoff this season, as Notre Dame should have been ranked ahead of Alabama in the College Football Playoff rankings. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more of Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.